We're going to review exam 1 in class practice today, and we're going to invite students to come out to share their work and have a chance to show us what they have for the answer of the in class practice questions.
Okay, tell your name in it. Well, my name is Celine, and I'm doing question one. So, in question one, it says to given a set that represents 1/4, which is drawn out here, draw out one. So what I did was first, I found out how much what the dots would be to equal to 1 1/4. So I grouped them together. I grouped them together into 5 groups. So and each because one there are 20 dots in total, and one group represents 1/4, and one group has 4 dots. So what I did, as you can see, is I grouped them all into 5 groups. So I did 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. Well, 1/4 5 times. That equals 5/4, and I know that 5/4 becomes 1 1/4. So now it's asking me to draw out the one, draw what one would be. So since I know that 5 groups is 5/4, I know that, and I know that one group is 4 dots and one group equals 1/4. I know that I'll have to draw out 4 groups. 4 groups, yeah, because 4 is 1. So then I drew that, and I did 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 equals 4/4. And 4/4 becomes 1, so that's the 1. And then since there are 4 dots in each group, you do 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, and that gives you 16 dots in total.
Okay, who's doing number 2? So for the next one, what question was it? We have a box represent 4/5, and then we need to use the existing box and draw one, right?
So the way I solved it is that I used, it's asking us to draw a picture to show one with the given. And the given graph, for the given graph, we split that into 4 pieces because we know that this is only equal into 4 pieces, so we split it into 4 pieces. That would give us 4/5. And and it's asking us to show one. So we do the exact same thing down here with the graph that was given. We split it into 4 pieces as well. And in order for that to become a whole or one, we would have to add in one more piece. So by adding up all of the fifths that we have and adding one more, it would give us 5/5 or one, which is a whole.
Yes, very good. So like she labeled this whole area to 1, so she make it a little bit taller, but like on the test I will give you the box, so she will not run into that problem, and it was very clear. That's good. Thank you. The next question is number 3. They are using pattern blocks to draw your answer. We want 4/7.
So, the question is asking it says, if a yellow hexagon represents a value of 1, draw a picture and label steps to show value of 7/4. Okay, so I started by showing the value of what 1 represents. So we know that 1 equals a hexagon. So then I drew out my my first hexagon, and I divided by 4 pieces because as we see the number that is given is 7/4, so we need to divide it by 4 pieces. And when I divided and I shaded all my pieces, I saw that I had less than the number was given, so I need to draw another hexagon, and I also divided by 4, and then I shaded 3 pieces in this hexagon, which when I add it up, it's 7/4. And here I did the math. Um, the shaded parts equals 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 equals 7/4. And then I converted because we needed to convert it because 7/4 is in a 7 is bigger than 4, so I needed to convert it. Where here I did 4 is outside, 7 is it's inside, so 4 can just go once one. Like I can only subtract 1 time 4 from 7, so 7 minus 4 equals 3. So I got this. This 1 is my whole. 3 is my denominator, and 4 no, 3 is my numerator and 4 is my denominator. So it's D and no N and D. So my answer was 1 whole and 3/4, and that was my math.
So I want to add a little bit, like, so she said, like, divide that into four because, like, the denominator is four, right?
Mhm.
And then a lot of time it's going to help you to first find out what is one out of the whole. So she decided to divide this into four. So for the pattern blocks, 1/4 is going to be which one?
The right trapezoid.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
brown white
Yeah,
trapezoid. Okay, so that's why she divided this into four, and I like she label each piece as 1/4 because this is not a continuum model, and she figured out like I need 7/4, and after she draw the first one is not enough, so she draw the next whole one and cut it the same way. Because she only needs 3 more, so she shaded 3 more, added up, and then she remember that she's supposed to label it with like the whole thing. So numerator, denominator, which is good. And then she converted to a proper mixed fraction. Do we have any questions? So number 4 is using quiz and errors, which remind us that on exam day you should do what? Bring your manipulative, especially the pattern block and quiz and errors. If you really don't have it, I have a few set, but I don't have for the whole class, okay? So bring your own if you have it. This one say orange plus yellow, meaning you have an orange and you put a yellow together and call this one whole, right? I want 1/2, meaning I need to find what? Find a color, how many go evenly into this? 2 evenly into it, right? Do you think there's any? No, because it's like as a adult, I know this is 15, so I cannot divide by 2 with this. But for children, they're supposed to like try each one and see if any of them will go into this evenly for 2. And after they try all of them, no. So the first question for orange plus yellow, whole to whole, for 1/2, we will say what? None. And then the second one is 1/3. Is there anything can go in to make 1/3? The yellow one, okay. So I need 3 as a group to fit evenly with this link, which is yellow, right? Can we see that? So the answer is just yellow. Are we okay with 4? All right. Who's number 5? Come out here. Let me read number 5. Number 5 is fraction sense. So are you doing A and B or just one?
Yeah, do
You
it.
broke it? Okay, fine. So I'm gonna leave it here so the question will be there. You can just move it around. You can put your paper on.
Okay. 5 says use fraction sense. You may not use LCD decimals or cross multiply, and to justify your words in your reasoning. So on A, it says which one is greater, 21 or 40? 21 over 40 or 25 over 52? And what I did was I tried to see which one is half or what is half of the fraction already. And I did come up with 20 over 40 is equals to half, so 21 over 40 is greater than half. And I put that aside and I moved on to the next fraction and I found out that 26 over 52 is half. Oh, and since 25 over 52, which it has given me, it is less than a half. So I came up with 21 over 40 is greater than 25 over 52. And then on the B, it says 9 over 10 or 29 over 30. Again, I tried to find half of 9 over 10 is 5. 5 over 10 equals to half, and it is one less than half. So, one less than the full whole number. So it is greater than half, and 15 over 30 is equals to half, and then I got 29 over 30 is going to be greater than half. So both of them are going to be one less than whole. So on the side, I did do a drawing to see a half and then the 2/3 to see like the difference over these two. And I did come up with the 2/3. It is one less than one half fuller. So I came up with 29 over 30 is greater than 9 over 10 because 29 over 30 is missing a smaller piece than 9 over 10.
So her answer correct, first of all. Are both answer correct? This bigger than this one? Yeah. How about this one is 29 over 30 bigger than one half? Yes. So the answer is correct, and I like the first one. I should use them to compare with one half. So the one greater than one half would be bigger than the one smaller than one half, right? So that's very clear. This one is not as clear. So the second one, I probably will not compare them with one half. But you do have a correct idea, like both of them are one fewer pieces than whole, right? Both are missing one piece from the whole. So you have the correct idea. One piece from the whole. And they're very close to one, right? And if we look at her picture, both of these fractions also are missing one piece from the whole, right? And which one is missing a smaller piece? If the denominator is bigger, so each piece would be smaller, right? And so because of that, like she also come up with the conclusion that this one have a bigger denominator, which means each piece would be smaller, right? So this one is missing a smaller piece than that, and because of that, this fraction would be bigger than that. So this is correct, okay? All right. This is actually going a lot smoother than I thought it would be. So doing well, guys. All right, number 5, number 6. So number 6, I'm going to read the question. We need to illustrate 1/3 plus 2/5 using area model. Okay. Tell us what we need to pay attention to.
All right. So, what I like to do is write this first, so you know what you're like adding. Um, so on the side you have to put 1/3 plus 2/5. Remember to circle the plus to know what you're doing. Uh, Make two boxes for each. Cut one vertically, horizontally. I don't think it doesn't matter which one you choose, but I always like doing this vertically. And so this, if you cut it 3 times, it'd be 1/3. Draw this, a color in this as you work. Shade this part. Now, for the other box, you have to shade in 2/5. So cut the box into 5 pieces, 5 equal pieces. I mean, don't mind my drawings because I kind of messed up. But now, uh, the second step, you need to make two boxes. Preferably, it'd be the same size as this, but I'm not good with drawing, so this is what you get. So now, yeah, originally you'd have to cut it into three pieces, equal pieces, and then add the other five cuts from this question to make it both equal. So now you got to shade the equivalent of whatever you had here, which in this case would be 5, and the total of it would be 15. Here, you do the same what you did here, shade the equivalent of this part, which give you 6 over 15. So the answer would be hopefully you can draw a perfect box here. Now you have to color in the what was equal here, which would be 5 out of 15. So now what you want to do is add the rest. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 6, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So now you end up with 11 out of 15.
Okay, very good. Hold on. So like he point out a few very good points. So all the boxes need to be about the same size because they represent a whole. And then one need to be cut vertically, one need to be cut horizontally. And you should always draw the picture for the question and then repeat it so they are covering the same area, right? So same area. And what he did is he put the horizontal line on top of the first one, the vertical line on top of the second one. So now you can see the equivalent fraction, like 1/3 is the same as 5/15, 2/5 is the same as 6/15, right? And then he said like add those green area and the blue area together. So that's how he found his answer. Okay, good job. All right. Who's next? 7. It's very beautiful. Okay, for number 7, we are trying to do exchange from the whole for these two fractions.
Okay. So what I did was rewrite the answer again. I mean the question, and then you exchange the whole. So you do 7 plus 1, and then sorry, and then you bring down the 3/5 again, and then you rewrite the other part down again too, and then we know that 1 is equal to 5 over 5. So then you write 5 over 5, which is the 1. And then you write everything down again too. And then you come back down and then it'll be 7 plus 8/5 minus 2 4/5. And then it'll be, you just subtract it. And then it'll be 5 and 4/5.
So like she have a good clear steps, and one of the key thing is just like this 3/5 cannot subtract the 4/5. That's why we have to borrow from the whole, right? And then like she showed very clearly, we break the 8 to 7 and 1, so that one will turn into 5 over 5, right? Because the denominator is 5, and then when she add up that together is 7 8/5 subtracting 2 and 4/5, so she can subtract the whole number and the numerator to get her final answer. Any question for that?
Oh, I'm doing 8 too. Yeah. Okay, and then 8 is 4 and 1/8 minus 3 and 5/8, and it wants us to do improper fractions. So you multiply first, and then you add. So you do that to both of the questions, and then you'll get 33 over 8 minus 29 over 8, and then you just subtract across. So you do 33 minus 29 over 8, and then it'll equal 4/8, but then you can simplify that. So you divide by 4 on both sides, and then you'll get 1/2.
things I want to point out, just don't forget when you do your test, make sure you show me how you found the improper fraction, multiply and adds. Make sure you show me those improper fraction and put them together with the same denominator. And finally, don't forget to reduce it if it's a fraction that you can reduce. So any of those questions, if it's a fractions that you can reduce top and bottom, make sure you do that step before you give me the final answer. And the reducing part is you divide the same number top and bottom. Are we okay? All right. Okay, next is number 9. Let me read the question before she gets started. So she says you want to do which one? B. So she want to do B. That's a hard one. So I can do A if nobody want to do it. But this is going to be a rectangular area model, and this is a mixed fraction times another mixed fraction. That one should be you guys know us. Otherwise, it won't be on the video.
My name's Mayumi.
All right.
So the question is 1 1/2 times 2 2/3. So first you write down that you're gonna go down 1 1/2 and over 2 2/3 for the area model. And then underneath you put the next whole number that you're gonna go down to. So it'll be 2 for 1 1/2 and 3 for 2 2/3. So first you make the box and you go down 2 right there, and then you go over to 3. And then since the question is 1 1/2, you split this side into halves and you circle the number, well, the fraction. And then you do the same thing at the top, but it's going to get separated into thirds because it's 2 2/3. And you circle the fraction again, and you shade in from the two places that you circled right here. So from here to here, and shade all of that in. And your answer is going to be the shaded area over the whole, which is 1 and 1. So 1 to 1 would be right here, and you just highlight it, I guess. So the shaded part is 24, and then the 1 by 1 is 6. So you have to convert that, and 6 divided by 24 is 4. So that's the answer.
All right. So before we go, she have a clear step, which is good, and she mentioned like you go to the next whole number. So make sure you go to the next whole number first, and you connect those lines. So every time when you start connecting the line, the boxes should be equal size pieces. Okay, and then she mentioned she need to find 1 1/2, so she divided between 1 and 2 to 2 equal parts. And because of that, she need to go back to the first box and also divide it into 2 equal parts. Is that okay? So that seems to be some of the common mistakes that people just divide here but not there. Okay. On the horizontal parts, this is 2 and 2/3, right? So she need to locate that, and we know this is going to be between 2 and 3, right? And I need to divide that into how many equal parts? 3 equal parts. So she found 2 and 2/3, but because of that, then she need to go back where? Between, like she divide this into 3 equal parts, and then she also need to go back where? Between 0 and 1 and divide into 3 equal parts, and between 1 and 2 also divide into 3 equal parts, right? So when you connect all those lines, they will be equal size boxes. So when she get to here, the answer is the shaded part, she say, or shaded area, and then whole is 1 by 1. So I like she circle each number so you know exactly where to shade down to and where to shade over to. And then she also highlighted the 1 by 1, and we can clearly see this is 6, right? And at this point, you have two choices if it look like that. You can divide both top and bottom by 6. Then it would be 4 over 1, which is 4, right? Or like what she did, she converted. So this is her whole number. This is the numerator, which she doesn't have a numerator, but that would be the denominator, right? So she found her final answer is 4. Are we okay with that? All right, thank you. Anybody want to do the repeated addition?
So the question is 3 times 2/3, and it wants repeated addition. So we're going to do 3 groups of 2/3. So we have to draw it out. We shade in 2 out of the 3. So that's one group of 2/3, and then we have to keep drawing another group and then another group. So that'll be 3 groups of 2/3. And then the answer will be parts over whole. So you draw it out again and you shade in the amount of shaded in parts. So it's going to be 6/3, which equals 2.
Okay. Is the answer correct? No? It's not? What do you have? So several things I want to point out. First, I really want you to write out this is how many groups of what. And then make sure you draw each box is about the same size because each one's supposed to represent a whole. You label each box, you add them together, and the answer is going to be part of a whole. So clearly, she probably can see this is 2, so because it's one whole plus one more whole equal to 2, right? Or she can use here, which is reducing by 3, that's like 2/1, which is also a right to the answer of 2, right? Is that okay? All right. So the repeated addition and the rectangular area model is slightly different. Make sure you understand how they're different. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you. Number 10, please. And we have the questions. I'm going to just put the question down. So the questions say what? Sorry. Okay. To divide without invert and multiply by using common denominator. To find the answer for these questions, be sure to show all your stuff so I can follow it. So write on the question and then what?
So the question was 4 over
You have to
7.
talk a little bit louder.
Okay.
Answer it again.
The question was 4 over 7 divided by 3/5. And since you can't invert and multiply, I have to use the common denominator, which the lowest common denominator for these two were 35.
How did you find it?
I found it because I knew that nothing like lower than that would equal it, like 7 times 2 would
Okay,
be
so she lists all the multiples, 7 times 1, 7 times 2, 5 times 1, 5 times 2. That would be the first number they will have in common for multiple, okay?
And then since I have to make the denominator equal to 35, I have to times 7, I have to times both sides, both fractions. So 4 over 7 has to be times by 5 on both top and bottom, and 3 over 5 has to be times by 7 both top and bottom. So then I get 20 over 35 divided by 21 over 35. Then I divide straight across, which is 20 over 21 divided by 1. And then after that, you just get rid of the 1, and it's 20 over 21.
Okay, is the answer correct? Should cover? Okay, thank you. I'm gonna stop right here for a moment. Everybody okay? So I think I will have this video uploaded so you can look at it again and double check the and everything. Showing you. Anybody else want to sign up can come out and sign up. If you don't have your name up, you need to come out and do it at this point. So if you haven't signed up, I'll take one. Okay, so you're doing number 11. What's the question? Do they want to show the question?
The question is Amy picked 6 oranges. Mom told her that she can take 2/3 of them to school. How many oranges can Amy take to school to share with her friends? So I started by writing what I know, which was Amy picked 6 oranges and her mom told her to take 2/3. So I started by drawing 6 oranges and 3 groups, and I added one orange to each group until there was none left. And there's 2 oranges in each group, which equals to 6 oranges. And each group equals to 1/3. So 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3 equals 3/3. And I know her mom told her to take only 2/3. So I just looked at the two groups since each group is 1/3. So 1/3 plus 1/3 equals 2/3, which there's 2 oranges in each group, which equals to 4 oranges. So the answer is Amy can take 4 oranges to school.
Any question for her? Is that correct? Okay, so several things I like. She write down what she know first, so that's important. And then she check with the existing information what she's thinking is 1/3 correct. So she started with 6, divided into 3 equal groups, and each group have 2, which represent 1/3, right? 1 out of 3 equal parts. So she added up, and this is 1 here, 1 whole set. And because she knows she can take 2/3, right? So she can take 2/3, she add up the fractions, and she also add up the oranges. So she figure out she can take 4 oranges to school. Is it okay? All right, thank you. Nobody wants to stop? Okay, I'm gonna do it. So far you guys are doing really good. But I want you to keep in mind you're talking to the whole class. So try to expand your, like, not just like focusing on your piece of paper. I know it can be nerve-wracking the first time you come here and there's so much stuff going on here. Everybody's staring at you. Try to, as relaxed as you can be, and try to talk to everybody. As we have more opportunity for you to try, maybe you will feel a little bit more comfortable each time, and be aware what's showing on the board and how you're presenting it. You can start asking them questions if you feel comfortable. So that would be something I encourage you to do. So apparently nobody wants to do number 12 because it's a long word problem. Okay, so let's look at this together. So for the Commerce ISD, half of the students join a sport team and 1/5 of them are in band and the rest are in tutoring. If there are 36 students in tutoring, how many students are in the Commerce ISD? Sounds so few students, sorry. Okay, sounds weird. But it's going to be okay. So let's write down what we know. Number 12, what do we know? 1/2 in sports. Sorry. 1/2 in sports and 1/5 in band. Okay, got it? Tutoring, 36. So what's the problem with informations like this? There's a number, those are fractions, so they're not the same type of data. So somehow I need to get them to be the same type of data, meaning I need to first find what? Finding the fraction for tutoring. So found the fractions for tutoring. So once we have that, then we will have fractions, right? So that would help us to solve this problem. But how do we find the fractions for tutoring? So I also noticed these two fractions has different denominators. So I probably need to go find the lowest common denominator will be 10. So you can list the multiple of 2 and 5. The first one they have in common is going to be 10. And sometimes you can just multiply those two numbers. They may not be the smallest one, but that would also work. So for the sports, we started with 1/2. For the band, we started with 1/5. And how do I get them to have 10 as my denominator? Multiply the first one, top and bottom by 5. This is a legal step because if we cancel, that's kind of like a 1, right? And then that will give me what? 5 out of 10. And the second one, both top and bottom need to be multiplied by 2. So this fraction is going to be 2 over 10. So now, how do I find the fractions for tutoring?
You can add 5 over 10, or you could just subtract it.
Okay. So how? You will use the whole or the total, subtract what? Choose the spot and then subtracting the band, okay? So the whole is going to be 1 or 10 over 10 is okay, or you can do 1. And then subtracting 5 over 10, subtracting 2 over 10 is going to give me 3 out of 10 is my tutoring. This one is harder. So this is tutoring, which is also equal to how many students? 36 students. So tutoring, we found out the fractions is 3 out of 10, which is the same as 36 students. So how do I move from here to get the total number of students? If 310 is 36, then we should find out what is 110. Let's find 1 out of the whole, or 110. How do I do that? 36 is 310. 36 divided by 3 is 12. Okay. All right. So 12 students equal to 110. Are we okay with that? And if you have a hard time, you can put like 10 boxes. And then 3 of them represent 36 and 110, 110, 110, and divide them into 3 equal boxes. Okay. So if 110 is 12 students, then the whole school or the whole class is going to be 10 out of 10, right? I should do what? 10 times 110 is 12 students, right? Then we are going to have 120 students in total. Are we okay? So this is a little bit harder than the example I gave you because like the example have 1 out of the whole. This one is not 1. So the answer for this is there are 120 students total in Commerce ISD. Is it okay? Questions? Who's next? Is writing the number in words? Are we ready? Yeah. So you can show them the question first.
Okay. My name is Selena. I have two methods.
So a little bit louder.
Okay. So the question is, write 4.01085 in words. So first of all, we know the value of 4 being 1. The issue here is we're not too sure about the decimals, right? So there are two methods. Either you say loudly the values, which first, tenth, hundredth, thousandth, 10,000, or 100,000. Or if you're not too sure about the order, add a 1 here where the decimal is, and then zeros under the decimal, which gives you the same 100,000. So when you write it down, first you put what's the whole first, which is 4. And for the decimal point, you put and, so 4 and then you start writing, which is 1,800, wait, 1,085 hundred thousandth. which should be your answer. And if you're confused about the 0 here, don't mention it. Don't pay attention to it. Just write how it is here.
So I like she's sharing tips. So just be careful. Like you can use this trick, but make sure you put THS here so
Yeah.
they know this is in the place value. And the other thing you can also try is this is the whole number, and then
Nothing worry.
need your question back. So on top we're gonna have 1,085, right?
Mhm.
And at the bottom we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places. So meaning how many zero at the bottom? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a 1 here. So like what you have here. So it's gonna be 4, and on top we have 1,085. That's very clear. At the bottom we have 100,000 with the THS. Okay, so that's another way you can look at it. Thank you. So the question for the next one, we have the expander form and expander form with exponents for this decimal number, right? So let's try that.
So, so what I did first for both A and B is I always like to write down what are they called values or like
Place value.
yeah they what place values. I know my handwriting is kind of small, but I always like to remember that the first number before the decimal is 1, 10, hundreds, thousands, etc. And then going this way, kind of like Paulina's method, it would be tenths, hundreds, thousandths. So because this question is asking about expanded form, um, I like to remember that as I write this down to, again, remember the place values. So what I got is 2 times 10, 7 times 1, and then again, I would want to ignore these zeros. You can put them down if you want, but for me, that throws me off. So I just completely ignore it. And then for decimals, so after the decimal point, you always want to put a fraction. So the 5 would be 5 times 1 over 1,000. And then for B, it's asking the same thing, but this time in exponents. So I want to remember again, whatever 10 to the power of whatever will give you a certain number. So again, this will be 1, 10. So 10 times 1 is 10 by itself. Sorry. When you multiply 10 to a power of 0, it'll give you nothing, so that'll give you 0. And then 10 to the power of 1.
10 to 0 is what?
Or it's 1. Yeah, sorry, that's what I meant. 10 to the power of 0 would still give you 1, so it'll leave 7 at that, and then 10 to the power of 1 is 10. And when you're going after the decimal point, that's when that's when the power turns negative. So in total, you get 2 times to the power of 1, 7 times 10 to the power of 0, and then 5 times 10 to the power of negative 3.
So I like she talk really loud, so we can hear her very easily. And so just want to point out for the expander form, regular expander form, you just put the place value here. So this is 10, this is 1, like she say, and then you don't have to write the 1 with 0, it's optional. But for the 5, this is 10th, 100,000, that's why she put 1 over 1,000, right? And for the expander form with exponents, for some reason on the homework, a lot of you are missing this part. I don't know why. You're multiplying weird stuff for me. So make sure this is your 10. So again, 10 to the first power. This is 1. So 10 to the 0 power, which means 1. And they are in descending order. So if this is 10 to the 1, 10 to the 0, that would be 10 to the negative 1, negative 2, and this would be negative 3. Are we okay? All right. Thank you. Okay, who's next? 15 and 16. Yours. So I'm gonna just show you the question real quick while she's getting ready. So 15, we have a decimal number turning into a scientific notation. We also have another scientific notation need to go back to regular number. For 16, she need to convert that to a fraction. Okay.
Hello, my name is Micah. I'm gonna start off with part A of question number 15. So it's asking us to convert this number to scientific notation. So here what I have, it's just like a little note of like basically what I'm thinking like in my mind. So first we're gonna make sure to write our number here so we don't get confused up here. So I'll go ahead and write it out. And then I know that when we're converting something to scientific notation, the number that you're multiplying your 10 and your exponents, it has to be less than 1. So what we have to do now is move the number that we're multiplying.
Not less than 1, but less than.
Oh, less than 10. So yeah, it could be from 1 to 10. Sorry.
It's okay. It
Um,
can be 1 or bigger than 1, but less than 10. So it's
Mhm.
1 digit.
Yeah.
I think that's what.
Yeah. And then we're gonna grab the original decimal number. We're gonna move it as many times as we until we get a number between greater than 1, greater or equal to 1, and then less than 10. So right here in this case, I had to move it 3 times, and I could put my new decimal point there. So then I could just go ahead and write my answer down here, which I would put the 1.94 right here, multiply my 10, and then my exponent would be -3. Because the 3 came from moving the decimal place 3 times, but then the negative exponent was because my number was a smaller number. Um, so yeah, that's my answer. And then for part B, now it's asking us to write this in a standard number. So once again, I brought down my numbers, and then I just did the same thing, and I moved it until I got. Wait, sorry. Okay, so from here I had to move my decimal point 5 places to the right because right here we have our positive number 5 as our exponent. So we move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we can place our new decimal here. And then we would just rewrite it over here, and then that's our answer.
So I want to look at this first before we move on.
Mhm.
So it's good that she write down herself a note. You don't have to do it on the test because we have limited time, but it's good when you review that. And I like she have very clear step, and then she also used the arrow, which I want to see on the test what direction you are moving the decimal points. And she have the question, but she didn't mess with the question. She write one more time so I can see what her step is, and she rewrite her answer. So again, if you started a number that's less than 1, it's a very tiny number. So the exponents is going to be negative, right? And you can also change that to 1 over 1,000 or 0.001. And if you multiply to that, you should get back to the original question, okay? You can check your answer. So again, this one is a positive exponent, so it's going to get a bigger number because that's 5. She move it to make a bigger number with the decimal places moving 5 times. So that's good. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then moving on to question number 16. Here I have my original question. I had to convert 5.08 to a fraction. And then once again, here's another little note that I have just to like make sure I know my place values. So I went ahead and wrote 5.08 like spaced out. The 5 is my ones, and then the 0, which is the first number after the decimal, is my tens with the th, and then my 8 would be the hundreds place. And then I went ahead and wrote my number here, and then I know that 5 it's in the ones place, so it's my whole number. So I went ahead and wrote it big right here, and then my 8 it's in the hundreds place, So my 8 it would go as my numerator, and then since it's in the hundreds, my denominator would be 100. So that's five. That gives me 5 and 8 over 100. But then I know I can simplify this or reduce it, and then what I did here was that I divided both parts by 4. And then that gave me same thing, bringing the whole over here, which is 5, and then 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 100 divided by 4 is 25. So this is my answer.
I like you have very clear steps, which is good. Who's next? 17. So the question for 17 are rounding numbers. So make sure you know it's rounding to the nearest one. So make sure you pick the correct place value. One is for hundreds, one is for 10. So
Okay, so what I did for the first one,
yes.
we're looking at the nearest hundreds place, so we gotta know our place value. So right here will be the tens, the hundreds, the thousands, and the 10,000s. So I underlined the one that we have to figure out, which will be the hundreds, and then I circled the one that matters for us to convert it into how you call it the proper value. And since we're rounding, we have to figure out whether we're rounding up or whether we're rounding down. And we'll figure this out by knowing if the number next to the one we're trying to figure out is bigger than 5, the same as 5 or bigger, or under than 5. And since this number is 3, that means the number will round up, giving me 4.10. Yeah, like it'll it'll convert to a 10, but we can have like the value of 10, so we'll switch over to a 1 here. Right?
You have to.
I mean under one. Sorry.
So 3 is less than 5.
Yeah, 3 is less than 5, so it'll give us 4.10. Sorry about that. Yeah. And then for B, we have 4.999, and we gotta figure out the tens place
So this one is round to the nearest one.
to the nearest tens.
Okay.
So I underlined the tens and I circled the hundreds value, and we gotta check if it's bigger than 5 or lower than 5 to round it. And it's bigger than 5, so it has to add a 1 to the other side. But since we can have a higher value than 9, we gotta add an extra number to the whole, giving us 5.0.
So I like he's very loud, and then he have some interaction, but he only interact with me for some reason. He didn't interact with people. But he's getting there. Like I can feel he's a little bit nervous, but he did it and he has clear step on his work. So I like that. But sometimes when you talk, you have to really watch what you say, and I have that problem sometimes too. I just keep talking. I didn't think about what I'm talking. So if it's 5 or bigger than 5, then you round up, right? But if it's like less than 5, you stay the same number, or like you say, you can round down. And he did a good job showing the step. And any question for this? No, got it. Thank you, sir. Yay! Yay! Number 18. Let me show the question first, if I can find the question. Number 18. Looking at another rounding. Okay, sorry. So there one more rounding for 3.99999 to the nearest. So, go ahead.
Okay, hi, I'm Maddie. And basically, you're just rounding. Okay. You're rounding 3.999 to the tens, and first, like, figure out what the place is. So, one, tens, hundreds, yeah. And so this is the tens place. So I have to look at this number, And I'm gonna round up because 9 is greater than 5. So when you round up, it goes to 10 in the tens place. So you change it to 4.0.
Okay, so to the 10.
Yeah.
So one thing. But like, but she did a good job here because she need tens. Even though the answer is 4, she makes sure she have the 10th place. Okay, so that's even important. Okay, all right. So the next question is 19. So 19 say, oh, this one is a little bit longer and harder. um, we give you these questions. You need to make sure you find out what those values are, and then you have to add them up vertically. So let me see what you
Hello, my name's Jasmine. What I started was writing down the question it gave me, and then since I noticed these two exponents are negative, I turned them into 1 over 10 squared and then 1 over 10 fourth. And then since this one isn't a negative, I just turned it into 1,000. Then what I did was, since these are just positive, I just put 1 over 100 and then 1 over 10,000. And I divided it so it'll be 0.01 and then 0.0001. And then I multiply them, which is 0.04 plus 0.0005 plus 6,000. Then I added them vertically. Make sure that they were in the same place. And yeah, the answer is 6,405 10,000. Just yeah.
10. I like she have a lot of steps, and they're very clear steps. The one that I really need to see on the test, including these steps that you give me, like what they're multiplying, and the actual decimal number representation of each number. I like she line up her decimal places and she add them up vertically and circle her answer. Is that correct? We have a bunch of decimal number. We need to line them up with decimal. Use fraction, compare them from the least to the greatest.
Hello, my name is Isabella. So we, sorry, we are going to compare these decimals from least to greatest. First, we're going to add zeros, 0.73, and make them all align. 0.73 add a 0 right here, 0.08, and then 0.102, you don't need to add a 0. And then this is 0.08, 0.0, excuse me, 0.080 is the smallest. Oh, I forgot this one. And then 0.102 is the second. 0.500 is 3, and then 0.730 is 4. So the answer is, you will rewrite them in order from least to greatest, and this is the answer.
Okay, first of all, is that correct? Okay, so the other thing is like make sure when you do this, they need to line up the decimal points and then they have to have the same number of decimal places. So now you can see like this is 80 and then you have the second one is 102, and then you have 500 and 730. So you can compare them like equally, basically in the same place values, and then put them in the order. And make sure you read the question carefully. Are they least to the greatest or greatest to the least? Okay. All right. The next part.
We're going to compare the decimals from least to greatest using fractions. So 0.773 would be 73 over 100. 0.08 would be 8 over 100. 0.102 would be 102 over 1,000. 0.5 would be 5 over 10. The least common denominator is 1,000, and we'll multiply 73 over 100 times 10 on top and bottom, which will give us 730 over 1,000. 8 over 100, 10 times 10 over top and bottom, 80 over 1,000. 102 over 1,000 will stay the same. 5 over 10 times 100 times 100 on top and bottom, which will give us 500 over 1,000. Then we will compare least to greatest. First is 80 over 1,000, then 102 over 1,000, then 500 over 1,000, then 730 over 1,000. And we'll rewrite the answer in its original form, which will give us this.
Yes, very good. So like she wants them to have the equal size pieces so they can compare them. Very good. You want to do that? 21. I think 21 is an addition problems for baseline block. So make sure you label what is one, and then you want to have the baseline block to represent each number. So show us what you have.
So we're going to subtract 2.123 minus 0.53. We're going to let 1 equal this. We're going to rewrite the question here. Oh, I'm sorry. And make sure our image aligns our question on the side. We have 2, so we're going to write 2 blocks, 1 flat, 2 sticks and 3 units, 5 flats, 3 sticks and 0 units. This is going to be 3 units, and then we have to subtract 2 minus 3, so we're going to borrow from this flat and write 10 units, then, subtract 3, so cross 3 out here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, will leave us with 9 sticks left, and we don't have a flat, so we're going to borrow from the cube. We'll make 10 flats minus 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would give us 5, and then leave us with 1 cube. And then if you check your answer over here, it's 3. This is 12, which will give us 9. Borrow is 10, will give us 5, and then this will leave us with 1. You can see.
Okay. So like one more thing I want to add is like maybe you need to circle the set that you exchange so we can see it's coming from the exchange part. And like she said, you want to line up your picture with each number and make sure you draw the answers. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna let Angela finish hers, and then I'm going to do the rest of it in the video so you guys can check it. Yes. So this one is number what? 22 is writing how inwards and how. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
So first, my name is Angela, and the first thing that I did was we multiply ignoring the decimals and we multiply them as a whole. So here is 2.79 times 3.4, but we line them up this way. We don't pay attention to the decimals. First, we multiply 4 times 9, which is 36. We'll put the 6 right there and carry over the 3. And then 4 times 7, which is 28. I put the little numbers right there. And so 4 times 7 would be 28 plus the 3. That would be 31. We put the 1 right there and carry over the 3. Then 4 times 2 would be 8 plus that 3. That would give us 11. Then we put a 0 right there, and then we start multiplying the next number, which is 3 times 9. That would be 27. We put the 7 right there and carry over. We put the little 2 right there to show that we carry it over. And then 3 times 7 would be 21 plus the 2. It would be 23. We put the 3 right there and the 2 right there. And then 3 times 2 plus the other 2 would be 8. We add them up and we get 9486, and then we look at the decimal places in here. We see that we have 3, and we put the 3 decimal places right there, and that would be our answer.
That's correct. And then I'm gonna add that. So I think it's out of time, so it is good. Like to do that. I'm gonna finish up, and I don't know why my question jumped from 22 to 26 actually. So if you come out, I will give you credit. If you didn't have a chance to come out today, make sure you do it next time. Please study for your exam. Okay, so we went out of time. I'm going to do the next part for the Y part, so you can check your answer also. So for number 22, the Y in steps and Y in words. So first we want to change them to fractions. So the first one is 2.79, so it's in the hundred place. So it's 2 and 79 hundredths times 3.4 is going to be 3 and 4 10 because 4 is in the 10th place, right? And then we need to change them to improper fractions, meaning we are going to multiply the denominator with whole number, adding the top. So that will give me 279 over 100 times 34 over 100. And then top multiplied by top part, bottom times bottom, that would give me 9,486 over 1,000. And I want to move my decimal places for the denominator. So the denominator would be 1. Move the same number of decimal places to the top. So now I have 9.486 over 1. So the answer is 9.486 for 22B. So for some reason, jumping from 22, I say 26 on your questions, which is silly. That's supposed to be 23 here, so I need to know how in words and how in step to do a division problem with decimal. So for the how in words, we're going to need to move the decimal places. We need to move the decimal places for both dividend and divisor so that the divisor becomes whole numbers. So we just need the divisor to be whole numbers. Then we're going to divide. And don't forget to carry the decimal point to the answer. So this question started with 1.004 divided by 0.08, We're going to need to move the decimal places for the divisor 2 times to make it a whole number. So do the same for the dividends. And we are going to have 100.4 divided by 8. And we want to know how many times 8 go in there. 8 cannot go into 1, so move to 10. 8 times 1 is 8. Subtract. We got a 2 here. Bring down the 0. 8 go into 2 times, so this is lined up with here. 2 here is 16. That will give me a 4. Bring down the 4 here. 8 times 5 is 40. And if we subtract, we have a 4 again. We can put a 0 one more time. And 8 times 8 times 5 is going to be 40 again. So I am done here. And my decimal point is here, so I will carry it on top here. So it shows that my answer is going to be 12.55. Is that okay? So that is the how in words and then how in steps. Okay, and for 26B or 23B is the Y part. So I have that ready for you. So the very last part, we have the Y in words and Y in steps. So first I need to change my question to fractions. So this is 1 with 4 in the numerator. If this is 10, 100, 1,000, 1,000 in the denominator, or you can think of this as 30 in the denominator. And then this one would be 8 on top, and this is 10 and in the hundredth place, so it's 100 in the denominator, or you can think of this as 1 and 2 decimal places, so 20 in the denominator. After that, we're going to change that to improper fractions, meaning denominator times the whole number at the numerator, right? So that would give me 1,004 over 1,000 divided by 8 over 100. And the lowest common denominator is 1,000, so the second fraction need to multiply 10 and 10 to get to that same denominator. Once we have the same denominator, we can divide straight across like this to get the denominator equal to 1, and the top would be 12.55, so the answer is 12.55.